In this lecture, we're going to look at the last migration scenario, which is deleting an existing class. So let's take a look at our course class. Look, I want to delete this category class. Now there are two kinds of changes that I need to apply in my model. First, I need to delete this property here. And second, I need to delete the category class itself. Again, as I told you before, it's much easier and safer to do a small change and update the database as opposed to do too many things at once. So first, let's delete this property from the course class. Delete. Now we create a migration. Delete category column from courses table. Let's take a look at the migration. So first we delete the foreign key because there was a relationship between the categories table and the courses table. Second, we delete the index on this column. And third, we delete the column itself. It's pretty straightforward. When you delete a navigation property like category in the course class, you always see these three lines together in your migrations. So it's a pretty safe migration to run. Let's update the database. Update database. Beautiful. Now the second step is to delete the category class itself. So here's the category class. You can delete this. Now if I build the application, I'm going to get an error because we have a DB set of type category in our Pluto context. Look. Now this category is not recognized anymore. So let's delete this line as well. Build the project. Everything is good. Now we create another migration. Delete categories table. Let's see what's happening here. So it's very straightforward. It simply deletes the categories table. But I want to show you a tip here. Sometimes you may want to preserve data in a table after deletion, maybe for historical reasons. Now in this case, categories table is really not that important. But for argument's sake, let's imagine we really wanted to preserve the data in the categories table. So what can we do here? Well, you know the SQL method. So what we can do is to create another table, let's call it underlined categories, which is our historical version of categories. Move all the data from categories table to underlined categories, and then drop that table. So let's see how we can do that. First, we need to create the underlined categories table. We have two choices here. We can use the SQL method here and just write raw SQL code, like create table, blah, blah, blah. Or we can use one of the helper methods, like create table. So I'm going to borrow this code that we have in the downgrade method because this code simply creates the categories table. So paste that here. Let's clean this up. Okay. Now I'm going to change this to underlined categories. So we create the table. Now we can use the SQL method to transfer the data, insert into underlined categories. We specify column names. I'm going to use the name column only because the ID column is an identity column. And here, select name from categories table. So we migrate the data into our underlined categories table and finally drop the categories table. Now, because we changed our up method, we should always take a look at our down method. So we need to do the reverse of what we did in the up method. So we create the categories table. Now we need to move data from underlined categories into categories. So I'm going to borrow this line, paste it here. change this. So we select everything from underlined categories and insert them into the categories table. And finally, drop table DBO underline categories. Okay, let's run the migration. Beautiful. And let's look at the database. Look, we got underlined categories here, and the categories table is deleted. Let's take a look at the data in this table. Beautiful.